Hey y'all, it's Renegade. Let's spill some reality on Canada's Drag Race. Season 6 is coming to town, so don't be a clown and make sure you like and subscribe for more, as you're not going to want to miss a single drop of content this season. On this episode, our 12 newest queens have arrived at the circus to claim their crown, and as always, it's time to talk them give our first impressions on this new group to separate the jesters and jokers from the true entertainers. But before we talk about it, let me introduce my co-host, and he's no stranger to being under a big top. It's QuackrrJack.
And I'm not sorry about it. I'm excited here for Canada's Drag Race. Anyways.
Was that your Canadian accent, Jack?
I have no idea what I was trying to. I couldn't get it right, okay? I can't do an accent that I know what it is. I can say, I'm not sorry about it, and that's about it. The Canadian accent...
That was better than whatever you were trying to do.
I don't know. It went like Australian or something. I don't know. It was bad. But anyways, let's get into these girls. I'm excited. I love a good Canadian season. I do think Canada has one of the best shows in terms of the whole franchise of Drag Race.
I was gonna say there's also something just like some things that just feel like they mark the end of the year, right? Like fall, Halloween, and then like as we've come accustomed to lately, Canada's Drag Race cast being dropped right around this time. So I don't know if I'm more gagged that 2025 is here or if we're about to get our sixth season of Canada. you know? Absolutely though, that Canada is probably one of the most, I think, well liked franchises. I feel like maybe one of the most universally watched possibly as well too. But it also doesn't feel like it's talked about as much as other franchises here and there. And honestly, a lot of my most favorite queens come from this franchise. I mean, Priyanka, Lemon, Goddess of All, Isis Couture. Uh, this one feels to me one of the most consistent franchises. So I know there might have been a little bit of weirdness at the end of last season because I know at the end of like 2024, we were all really high on Canada 5. But then as the last couple episodes kind of aired and we got to that finale, it ended with a 4.5 rating on IMDb, Jack. Can I be honest though? Because I've been looking at the ratings for this Meet the Queens for season 6.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, as of recording, now there haven't been too many rankings on it just yet, but the ranking is at a 9.6. Is that something you were expecting? You were expecting to hear it to be that high? And do you really think the excitement level is that exciting for this cast?
I don't know if I would have expected it to be that high. I do know that I get excited anytime there's like a Canada season coming up because I'm always looking forward to seeing what they have to offer. I think there's always a good selection of girls every season. I do think in terms of comparison to this and last year's finale, you kind of see it and you look at it like, well, maybe it didn't end on the right note that everyone wanted. Maybe some decisions were made that people weren't the most happy with, specifically like who the final two were in terms of like, it kind of felt like we weren't going off of performance anymore and it was just based upon what people had to say online or whatnot. But that being said, I think it's always exciting when you get a new cast reveal for anything. You're kind of like, oh, this could be the season that like really gets me back hooked on Drag Race. And we have a lot of interesting queens in this bunch. I mean, I will say there's a few here that I'm not feeling, but that being said, I do think there's a lot of different types of drag. I think there's a lot of different cultures being brought into it. I think there's a lot of different attitudes, which kind of makes this really fun because you kind of never know what you're going to get on a Canada's Drag Race. Sometimes you get a lot of girls that get along and they get the whole stereotype of Canadians are so nice. And then other times, hell lets loose. So I'm kind of on the second one, personally.
Yeah, I was gonna say it really did stick out there. The one thing that really stuck out was the energy for me. Like not every girl, but most of them felt like they were bringing some sort of vibe that was different to the table, but they were all kind of pumped to do it in their way. So there was something very kind of exciting about that, and we'll get into them in just a couple moments. But I wanted to touch on two things kind of quickly here. It kind of stuck out to me in this cast reveal here, and this is the first time, Jack, since season three that we've had a cast of 12. Season four, season five, we had 11. And that was probably because we had the Golden Beaver. They wanted to do what they needed to do with it. But now things are worked out. They know what they're doing with it. And we have 12. So do you think this means that even despite the negative reaction to last season's winner, does this mean like the budget, everything going up like that? Because I know you're a size queen. You'll know the answer to this. Is things getting better? A good sign?
I'm not always sure that bigger is better, but what I will say is the opportunity for more girls to show off their drag always excites me because, there are so few spots every year. Only a certain handful of girls get it. So even one or two more slots, like, opens up doors for some of these girls who are performers and want to show off. So I have nothing but support for having a larger cast.
Well, the other thing that I was going to say that kind of stuck out to me, and something more, a little bit more tangible that we could talk about here, and I'm not sure if you caught it, but a lot of the greens, bleh. A lot of these queens were talking about the golden beaver. So I think that officially means it's here to stay. But the thing that the girls were saying this time is that they were planning on using the beaver for strategy. Do you think this is all just talk, or do you actually think we could see something crazy happen here?
Well, I think a lot of people talk about this. I've heard so many girls say, "Oh, I'm gonna play the game," and when push comes to shove, they always go with the easy option. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. There's always a chance that someone picks the Naomi route where they're like, Manila, and you get rid of the biggest competition. There's always the possibility of someone forming an actual alliance. We kind of rarely see these alliances building outside of just who knows who before the show. But that being said, maybe the alliances will come into a factor this year. I think that if the girls stay true to what they said, we might be seeing a lot of fun reactions. But on the flip side of that, it will feel bad if you see like the girl who shouldn't be in the bottom three having to lip sync for her life constantly. So who knows?
As long as it's not constantly. A shock every once in a while won't be too bad, right?
Yeah,
I would say the golden beaver is also always something that's about Canada that I look forward to. But the one thing about Canada that does kind of always annoy me, and I'm just gonna go off tangent here for a little bit, Jack, really quick, is it has to be the one season that starts like in one year and in the other. So just a quick shout out to all our tournament of looks poll viewers out there who have been voting. They will still be going on through the rest of 2025, but we're going to circle back to our other seasons of the year that we didn't touch, like France All Stars and then US 17 and Canada 5. We might be able to squeeze in Brazil 2 if we have time, but I've had the idea to turn these all into future videos later on, so I just wanted to thank you all for voting in the polls. And there's also been something weird lately with the polls where for some reason you'll schedule a poll and it won't actually post, and then you'll go and you'll delete it, and then all of a sudden every other post you do will show up. So do apologize if y'all are missing out on the polls. Just make sure to keep back checking daily because there will be new polls up every day at some point until YouTube gets their crap together. So, just wanted to say that we won't be able to cover Canada 6 in those polls until the beginning of 2026 since the winner won't be crowned until next year. But obviously, we're going to talk about them in the podcast because Jack would never not allow me to talk about the looks in the podcast, so don't worry, y'all.
correct.
But that all leads us into talking about the promo themes because I really think Canada's have always been a lot of fun, and this season they took a visit to the circus. It seems extra fitting because a lot of these queens were so extra. So, did you enjoy the overall circus theme concept here, Jack?
It's not exactly my favorite, but I do have to say I feel like a few of the girls really missed the mark on the theme actually. And when I looked at their looks outside of like the circus background, I was like, was that really circus? I don't know.
Well, let's go ahead and we could get into the queens one by one. And as we do, we could deep dive your thoughts on the promos, Jack. And we'll finish as always with our final four predictions. So let's start with queen number one, and that's Dulce, 24 years old from Ontario. And this big bodied baddie is the first ever Mexican drag queen on Canada's Drag Race. She describes herself as a high energy experience filled with movement on stage, so she's not slouchy, at least not on stage. And she's a self made superstar who isn't afraid to work for it, but she does have a bit of picante, spicy side to her, so she can't just be fake. And you sort of see where she gets her confidence from with this ringmaster promo look, but Jack, for you, I gotta know, was Miss Dulce as sweet to you as she was talking herself up to be?
Gotta ask, is her name Dulce? I thought it was Dolce.
Not Dulce.
I, Dulce? Okay. That's my bad. I would have totally called her Dolce. Um, but I think she's all right. I get a lot of confidence from her. I've seen a lot of girls like this start off being like, I'm the shit, and then, going home first or second. So it makes me a little nervous. Her look though, you can tell she's like a ringmaster, ringleader of the circus, right? So like it was very on brand. It looked pretty good. I will say, wasn't the biggest fan of the edges of the little, I guess, the train of her look, and the shoes were just meh. And I do think her makeup could use a little work. I hope she gets some help from some of the other girls who maybe have more experience in that area. But everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. But I hope she also covers any straps because I thought I saw like the her straps from her either an undershirt or her bra possibly poking out. So I was like, okay, just make sure you don't do that. But I liked her overall. I wasn't getting like top four energy from her, but I do think she could have bring a level of drama to the season. She kind of reminded me a little bit of Joella in the confidence department, like where it was just so
Yes.
hard, where it
That's
could
what
be
I was
go
gonna say.
delusion. So we'll see.
Was totally getting Joella vibes there. Absolutely, but not in a bad way. Joella was a fun character, so I'm always fun for maybe a girl if she doesn't go home or if she goes home early, at least she brings the energy, brings some fun. So, that's kind of I think what to expect from her. I will reserve the right to, you know, judge how far she goes until we actually see her, I think, fully in drag because you could tell this really isn't like her aesthetic, right? Necessarily. So I'm excited to see what kind of drag she actually does, and then I'll kind of make like a official decision on her. But I do think Dulce will be fun. So um, that brings us to our next doll, though. And when I said these girls again were bringing the energy of the season, this was another queen, and one queen that specifically I was definitely talking about, and that is Miss Eboni La'Belle, 24 years old, also from Ontario, and she's a auntie in a 24-year-old body. Now, this tiny trans beauty packs a punch, describing herself as gorgeous, ferocious, body, and a lot of hood. And she's ready to get messy up on a drag race with her hypnotizing lip syncing and quick witted reads. But she also wants to be an inspiration for all those little black boys who want to be powerful black women. So, despite the slightly hard exterior, there's definitely a heart here and a beautiful message as well. So, I'm really kind of vibing with Miss Ebony here. And she's playing the fortune teller of the circus right now, but Jack, I need you to look deep into her promo and see the future here. And will Ebony be sitting at the end?
Not so certain that she'll be sitting at the end, but to be fair, she said she was 24. A lot of these girls are in their 20s. So there are quite a few of the younger queens or queens that haven't gotten to even 30 yet here. So it's hard to know because a lot of girls kind of are all over the place in the 20s kind of thing. Like we have girls that we've seen do extremely well and barely 20 years old. We've seen girls who are almost 30 go home first. But with Miss LaBelle here, I do think her energy is great. I liked her outfit from like the chest up. I wasn't a huge fan of the skirt kind of thing going on, but that aside, I loved the I guess the sleeves, gauntlet kind of thing she has on that are puffed out. Of course, the headpiece. You knew exactly who she was. Loved the shoulder and the like ribbons coming off of her the wrap neck and stuff. So I was excited for this. I was like, okay, this is fun. She does kind of give us that energy of she might be a little on the gullible or maybe on the not as, let's say she's not as all there at the same time. I think is what she said it as. So I'm kind of excited that for that because girls who are so focused in on like maybe one thing, like her being a performer, maybe her bringing a little bit of the drama, um, sometimes she might not always be 100% in the other places, but it always makes a very fun character, a very fun person to see. You want to see what happens next. And so for her, I'm so excited for that, for her on this cast personally.
I'll be very honest, Jack. She was one of my standouts. Like, I loved the
Really?
confidence that she had. And there's something about her story that made her feel a lot wiser than 24. Like, I had to double check again, even when she said that it was a 24-year-old body, I had to just double check again after I was like looking at everything to I was like, okay, she is 24. Because I was definitely thinking like 26, 27, 28 ish. She's definitely giving me like kind of Virgo Queen energy a lot, where it feels like she's giving like mother, even though she's not old at all. She
I
just, I
can
don't
see
know,
that.
I was getting very a wise energy. Like she feels like she's been through some stuff, you know? Like I just don't feel like you get the kind of confidence she has, especially being a trans woman in this day and age without having to go through something to get to there. So it just I feel like I don't know, I'm very high on her based off of that. And I also like the fact she went in the fortune teller direction that not a lot of the other people chose, which shows already that she's thinking outside the box in that aspect. I do think that it is a little simple, sure, but sometimes simplicity works if it's to, you know, your style. And I think she looks super sexy, and I think that's all she really needed to kind of achieve here, you know, at least in this sort of situation. So I think it's a great base to start from, and she's definitely somebody that I think I'm going to be watching a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. She was in my top half of girls. I'm just not certain if she'll be one to make it to the very end, but I could see her going very far.
Okay. Well, let's keep the energy high here and talk about the naughtiest girl we've ever met, and that's Hazel, 27 from Vancouver, and apparently she's the girl of Vancouver, who is the one giving opportunities to all the other queens. And I'm assuming what she means by that is that like she's like planning shows and a showrunner like situation, not that she's like giving away her bookings to all the other people because she's just so congenial, you know. So um, anyway, though, this firecracker, she loves to do a trick, but she also loves to make love to the stage. And she said she was a diver on Team Canada, and she's clearly very athletic because of that. And she's gonna give it to us raw. I'm a little worried about that part because I just hope she got tested first. But Jack, we're only three girls in, and I'm already kind of flashing back to Kimono Gate because we have another ringmaster here. Which of them did it better, and which one do you see going further?
Girl, come on, that's not a question. You know the answer. Hazel's going further, and she did it better.
I did know that, but I
Hazel,
just wanted you to say it.
yeah, that was disrespectful, honestly, to Dulce. But with Hazel, I am excited. She is definitely one of the top four girls that I see making it to the end. I thought it was so funny that she made a joke on what happened with Eve 6000. You can tell she's a performer. She looks at details in her outfits. It might not be like the most impressive outfit, but you can tell that there's a thought process here. There's a lot going on that it's enjoyable. There is a lot here that I cannot wait to see from Hazel. She seems very put together. She seems like drag is really something that she strives for excellence in. I am excited for her. She seems very polished. And, I love a girl who, takes their drag very seriously. So I have high hopes for her. I hope I'm not like completely off the mark and then she ends up going home first because I would be upset.
No, I actually have her really high on my list too. I've narrowed it down to five, maybe six, that I'm kind of in between, and she's definitely one of them. Absolutely. There's a professional vibe you kind of get with her, even though she's not that old at all. I mean, she's not 30 yet, so not old. Um, and you can tell she's gonna bring some energy to the performance. So, and there's a little bit more perspective than just like when she said that she wanted to make love to the stage. I don't know why that made a little bit more sense to me than just I want a kick, I want a trick, I want a buck. You know, there's some
Yeah.
substance there. So, I am definitely very high on Hazel as well too. So, let's maybe keep this energy going again with our next queen. We'll see. Because Step On Up, her show is about to begin, and that's Karamilk, 25 years old from Toronto. She's the Bayesian baddie. She describes herself and her style as sensual, captivating, and sexy. She says that her skills include being able to dance circles, act, and take bookings from all the other girls. And even though she couldn't tell if she was a jester or a gesture, I'm curious what you thought about her, Jack.
I found her very endearing. I liked her personality. I loved her look. I understood what she was going for. You know, she told us, but like I knew she was going for it. When she said Beijing baddie, when she said she was going to bring her culture in, I said, "Okay, I'm excited to see that." You can tell she's very sensual, very confident in her drag. Like there are certain aspects you can see immediately. You know somewhat of who she is as a drag artist. And Kara Milk, I've got to tell you, another one of the standouts for me. Definitely going to be putting her in my top four later too.
I see that. I was struggling putting her back and forth with somebody. She was up there too.
Is
Um,
she an alternate?
she's an
Is she
alternate
like
at
the
this
fourth
moment.
alternate?
She's someone that I need to see a little bit more. I think of what she's bringing to the table, just because I don't know if I get. I mean, if she doesn't even know what she is, I don't know if I could consider this like her signature drag kind of thing. Like, there's a few of these girls that are giving a lot more circus than it feels like maybe personal to their style. So I need to see a little bit more of what she's bringing because I haven't looked anybody up on Instagram outside the promos or anything like that. So I don't know what what her actual brand is. So I liked her personality. I was vibing with her. I thought it was fun. I agree with her too. I would think that worst part about being there is the fact that you're not going to be able to, do anything sexual for quite some time. So I definitely vibe with that. But I need to see just a little bit more. I think as far as like the story is what I'm missing, you know, because I think the only thing she really said about herself was the fact that she kind of is an all over the place girl. Like she grew up in a few different areas, and but she started her drag career in a few different areas. So that's all I kind of really got as far as her. So I want to know a little bit more about her before I could go on with her as a top four girl. But she's definitely someone I expect to see go very far. But let's go ahead and talk about our fifth girl here. And this season is definitely one of a lot of firsts. And among those is our first Inuit queen. And she's arrived to bring her culture to the show. Let's welcome Mya Foxx, 31 years old from Nova Scotia. And she could potentially be an underdog given last season's first boot is notoriously from Nova Scotia, but Maya seems very aware of this, and she believes she's one of the most polished from her hometown and is here to prove East Coast drag is fierce, and she wants to make waves in this competition. She says she's not afraid to play with strategy and would have no shame making an alliance to keep herself safe with the Golden Beaver, so she could potentially be one of the strategists of this season. But Jack, does her promo give you someone that is going to be a contender this season?
Well, she is a bit of a wild card for me. You know, Miss Perfection, she's okay, so she's very oh
Maya
wait, I'm sorry,
Fox.
we were Maya
Yeah, you
Fox. Oh,
skipped
I
her.
skipped it. Nope,
Mm-hmm.
nope, Maya Fox is not a contender for me. Sorry about it. Sorry. Not a contender, do not care, did not like the look. I don't think it fit the category. I was like, um, this is just whatever. It looked kind of cheap. The fabric wasn't giving for me personally how it was used. Didn't really like the little trinkets on it. And maybe there's a cultural thing I'm not getting here. And so I don't want to be completely disrespectful, but I Maya gave me nothing really good. And part of it is not Maya's fault. Let me explain to you something that happened to me. When Maya opened her mouth, I was triggered. And why was I triggered? Because I heard, oh my God. She sounded like Oh
Oh
My God to me.
no.
I was like, oh my God.
Or
I don't
oh
think
my God.
I was like, I was so upset. But, trying to get past that, she says she's the first Nook Queen. She looks kind of messy to me in terms of the lack of polish in her look. And I wasn't ecstatic about the makeup. But maybe looks aren't her thing. That being said, I wasn't getting any kind of stellar vibes from her or anything that's like, oh, she's gonna do amazing. And nah, I was like kind of just middle of the pack, lower middle of the pack kind of girl energy for me. I mean, she could always prove me wrong. I'm always down for someone to prove me wrong, prove that they got way more than what I'm seeing. But by the interview alone and what I saw, I wasn't putting her any bets on her. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I do agree. She was, I wouldn't say first boot, but she was giving me like second, third, fourth boot energy. Like she'll be around for a little bit, but I don't see endgame necessarily here. But again, she says she is the most polished of the Nova Scotia Queens, right? So I feel like maybe she has something
It's
else
not
to bring
saying
to the
much.
table. That's what she
It's not
said.
saying
But I know that's not what it's saying, but that's what she said. So I'm going to believe in the strategy. I'll believe in the fact that maybe she has a little bit more polish to show. Maybe it just wasn't in this look. It could happen. Could happen. We could be surprised, but yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't know how high I am on Maya Fox, but maybe our next queen. Actually, well, I mean, you've kind of already given away that
Oh my
she definitely is a
God.
wild card, but I'll be honest, from my perspective, I didn't get much from our next queen, and that's Paolo Perfección, 25 from Montreal, and she said it herself that the lights are on, but no one is home. The three words that she used to describe were unhinged, spiritual AF, and twink. Okay. Her drag is described as painful, but she majored in costume design, so likely she's going to be making all her garments. But maybe there could be some pearl upside to her with the character she was kind of playing, or her personality that she's kind of given here. But I just honestly didn't get much from her, nor do I feel like she had that much to say about herself or why she even wanted to be on the show. It was giving like that Vampirasian energy where they're just kind of babbling and talking, and Paolo's face like talking very slowly. But I was confused because I don't want to be mean here, but she's giving me first boot, maybe second boot because she saves herself in the lip
Oh,
sync. But she's giving me someone that I don't see going super far, just because I don't understand where she's coming from at this moment. She didn't feel like she had much to give.
really? Okay, so I said she was the wild card because I felt like her energy was very all over the place. I felt like at least she knew she was a twink. I think it was kind of obvious. Maybe speaking isn't her greatest talent, but she's kind of funny. Okay, I kind of liked her for that. She's definitely not on the most intelligent person list you'll find, but she's very pretty. She has a concept here. Her drag is a bit unique, and I loved the yellow. I was a sucker for it personally. So I'm excited. I could see her going pretty far in the competition. I'm not sure what we're gonna get from her though. The star on her head with the other third eye and so many of the eyes repeating in there, and I'm like, interesting look, interesting concept. I guess we'll see what we'll get from her. Her makeup looks good. It was a good outfit to me though, and I'm excited to see her take on drag.
I mean, I'm again willing to be surprised here. I just didn't really get much from the Meet the Queens. And I do think she probably has one of those personalities where it's like mileage will vary on how much you think she's funny or not. I think she's probably definitely relatable to people that are younger. I don't think her energy is very like palatable outside of that, but we'll kind of see. I'll give her an opportunity to prove me wrong, obviously. So, um, But Jack, that's six queens down now. Six more to go. We're halfway through. And I'm interested to hear your opinion now on our seventh queen here, because when we were talking about like connecting with the Meet the Queen segment for me in this last uh, queen here, uh, our next competitor, I think, based off of that energy and the energy they were giving, is going to be my preseason pick for the Jack is going to hate on you award. And that is PM 31 from Vancouver. And they're everyone's favorite alien superstar. And she's pretty effed up in the head, apparently. She describes herself as a sexy clown alien. She's limitless, just like gender is, and never wants to just be put in a box. The interesting fact here I thought that was kind of cool about her was that she is a ballet dancer, which second ballet dancer that we'll be having like competing concurrently maybe if Daphne Mugler makes it to November in España, right? Uh, but apparently she's such a good performer, she's going to drain your wallet. So expect her to serve in the lip syncs. But I'm curious, Jack, are you vibing with PM's gender bending gesture here?
Let me start with the positive. I loved her shoes with the ribbons and stuff going up, and I loved the shape that her middle piece section made. So now that I'm done with the positives, um, it was giving me Pythia. It was giving me, she said alien superstar. I'm not usually a fan of a girl who calls themselves an alien. I'm probably not going to like them. It felt like she was trying really hard to make me like her, and it was a little off-putting for me. I feel like it was giving kind of basic as well. In the looks department, there were so many bad things about this. She looked like she had a sad croissant on her head. I was like, that's a croissant I didn't even want to eat, baby. I'm gonna need you to put that back. Put some more filling in it so it looks okay. And the makeup was just a cry for attention. Um, and this blue teal like bodysuit with the ugly circle, I don't know what you would call them, like little buttons maybe. Those details, they sucked. They were awful. They weren't a thought. They just were like a slap it on there. It didn't make sense. None of it was really good. The one thing I will give her on is that I understood she was from the circus, but honestly, I had to rank her so low because it wasn't good. It just wasn't good. And, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, so maybe you're living for it. But those ribbons, bows on her neck, baby, they just made her look shorter. They took away any length from her neck. She was covering it up. So many things I didn't like about her look here.
My
In my
only
opinion,
thing I liked it about it was the color combination. I think that was it.
I wasn't even a huge fan, honestly, if I'm being honest. Like yellow and purple, yeah, this like cyany teal, like it's fine. It's just I don't know. It was done incorrectly in my opinion. Some of these colors can be difficult to use together, so like go off. I'm not the one making the look. I'm not the one doing this. So maybe it's her own style, but to me, it was very annoying. I wanted to go home. I don't remember if I said this, but she was giving very Pythia energy. Um, yeah, I wasn't feeling it.
You're gonna make so many people hate you with your hate on Pythia right
You know
now.
what?
I
I'm
don't
not
think she's
hating on
giving Pythia
Pythia.
energy personally. I liked Pythia. I don't know how I feel about PM.
Well, I think Pythia had more. Let me put it back. Let me explain this. It's Pythia in the way that like you ordered Pythia, but then you forgot you got Pythia on Temu. That's what it's given.
Ooh,
It's
ooh,
Timu Pythia.
oh
So
no.
it's not that I dislike Pythia. It's just that I was like, are you trying to be Pythia right now? Because it's not going to go well for you if you're just trying to be someone else. And about her like going to get us the money from me, I'm not certain about that because bitch, a flip, a trick isn't always going to give me everything, especially when you're just some skinny bitch. So I don't know. We'll see. But I don't have any confidence in her for me enjoying her drag per se. And if they
So
hate
I
me for
was
saying it,
correct that she's
it
winning the
is what it
award.
is.
She
Congratulations.
won the award already.
Your really only other competition at this point is Mya Foxx if she ends up being like Uma Good. Like, go for it. So, but you can get that acceptance speech ready for that award.
I can already hear it now. Well, all that brings us to our next queen. And, when you talk about queens that are huge on social media prior to getting on the show, they don't get much bigger than this next queen. That is Saltina Shaker, 29 years old from Ottawa. Said she's a performer. Her humor and stupidity is what make her a great queen. She's a sci-fi verse of sexiness and edge, and she's in her own universe. But the words that she expects to hear about her performance are WTF was that, and why do you kind of like it? I don't know if I was kind of liking her promo. I was kind of expecting a little bit more
Mhm.
based off of her, who she is, TBH. So I was a little worried about that, I'll be honest. And I will say that I was also kind of confused and concerned. And I know it's like her thing that like she does like the out of drag videos, right? Into drag. So that's why they did that in the opening for her, right? But like, is that a little bit favoritism, right? Where every other girl's forced to be in drag and she gets this little segment where she gets to do that there. Like, I'm a little bit kind of like, well, is Saltina gonna be that girl that like maybe she's good, but is she gonna be pushed? I don't know. I want to like her. I feel like I'm going to be expecting big things out of her, but I'm just wondering, especially based off this promo, is she going to be able to live up to the hype? Jack, what do you think?
Well, let me make a call real quick. Yeah, Sugar and Spice, your cousin Salt is here. Would you like to speak to her? Like, I
Ooh,
really am not here for Saltina Shaker that much. TikTok queen, we've seen it before. I put her look as the last. She was my last place on the looks. I want to say I didn't get circus whatsoever. It was giving a lack of body. She said, "Oh, but I have an ass. It looks nice." And I said, "So why do we got nothing on top then? If we're going to talk about having a nice ass, you need to put some pad or make us look like contour something up top if you're going for something like that." Like, it wasn't really giving the body that I think we were really going for. I think there's a big overconfidence here. Just because you're good on TikTok doesn't mean you're necessarily going to do well on Drag Race. It doesn't mean you're going to do poorly on Drag Race. But, one of the big nice things about social media TikTok is you get to edit what you put out there. You can have as many takes as you want. It's not like that on Drag Race. You have to be confident, and sometimes you have to do it in one or two takes, right? So I'm not sure if she's going to necessarily understand that there is a huge difference there. I could see her going home first or second, personally. Not much to say about her in the looks department. I've seen this exact look on 20,000 other girls every fucking season,
ooh,
especially the part of where there's no padding up top and there's nothing there to give any shape there, but they think they got like half of an ass or a small little pad that they cut out that was supposed to be the cutlets up top. And they just stuck it on the hips. So I think she can prove me wrong. She was cast for a reason. I hope that she does prove me wrong. I hope she gets the chance to. The look department, this was not it. It was just very basic and not in a good way.
yeah. I was high on Saltina until because I watched it through once, but I was only like listening the first time. So like when I was listening the first time, I didn't wasn't really paying attention to the screen. Didn't see the look. I liked everything. She was saying the right things, but then I looked and I was like, oh, I was not expecting you to look like that with that kind of look that you kind of just grabbed out of your closet and tried to make it apply to the theme. So yeah, I'm a little worried for her. I don't know. Initially, I wanted to put her in my top four just based off of like things that I saw, but I'm kind of going back on it. I don't know if I see her going any further than maybe fifth place. I don't know if I see her in the top four. So yeah, I kind of agree, but like I said, anybody could shock us here. I'm all ready to be shocked, Saltina. Uh, but let's go on to our next queen because sticking on the social media followings with the queens with huge ones apparently, um, that brings us to our next queen, and that is Sami Landri. She's 26 from New Brunswick, and she's apparently the first queen from New Brunswick as well too. and her brand is Trashique, where she's not the most polished, but she's still the elevated in her own way. And from what I've learned in her videos, is she kind of has a very interesting sense of humor that I don't know if everybody's going to be kind of vibing with here. Jack, I feel like you especially won't necessarily vibe with Sammy. But um, I also, the only thing I also had noted here is that I didn't get much else from her video without doing the research on it. Like, else, otherwise, other than the fact that she might have hemorrhoids. But I wasn't sure if that was a joke to start off with or a confession. So, I mean, I guess that's a taste of her humor, and we'll kind of see how that translates on the show. Jack, I'm curious what your thoughts were on Sammy.
Now, look, Miss Sammy is 26 years old. She is so messy. She called herself Trash Chic Drag. But here's the thing. I'm rooting so hard for Sammy. I kind of got some good charisma from her. I said the makeup is rough, but she's doing it in a way that is her own. The hair could just be fixed a little, like judged here, I guess, or there, and you could fix that up. But one thing that makes her really different from some of the other girls, she knows who she is. She knows what her style is, and she admitted she's not like, oh, I'm the best thing ever you ever seen. She's like, I do trashy drag. It's what I like to do. This is who I am. And it's not this delusion of just like she's amazing. It might be a delusion of like, haha, I can do great. But like, I'm excited for her. I was like, Sammy's kind of giving me like this energy, this charisma I'm really enjoying so far. Yes, the look isn't the best, but it's definitely not the worst. Is it necessarily circus? Not really. But is it my least favorite thing here? Definitely not. That being said, she's 26. She has a brand. She has a personality. I can't wait to see what she does on the show. I think she is possibly in the same boat of being a wild card, but I do see good things for her, I think.
I'm shocked by that because I was getting really good vibes from Sammy, so I'm like, sure, Jack's gonna find something wrong with her, but no, everything you're kind of saying is kind of how I was feeling about her too. There's something ironic, I guess I would say, about her style that it feels like it's intentional in a way that it's not necessarily like she means to kind of play up this kind of goofiness to the whole idea of dressing in drag, right? But she's also taking it very seriously as well too. So it's like a very interesting dynamic to have someone who knows that they're kind of a clown, right? And is going full into it. So I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of vibing with Sammy. And I do think between the two social media girls, I think she'll probably be the one that will come in a little bit more as an underdog, at least in the story, but will probably definitely go further than Saltina. So yeah, my eyes are definitely on Sammy here to go far. I'm very curious to see how she's going to do here. That brings us to our 10th queen. Still got three more to go here. And you gotta kind of love how timing works here, right? Because Suki Doll just got off being a finalist on Slation Royale a few weeks ago, only for her drag daughter to debut in a few weeks from now. So let's talk about Star Doll, 25 years old from Toronto, and apparently she's the it girl of Toronto, who brings the three P's: personality, polish, and I don't think I can say the other word, but a CM Pousse.
Boys.
Um, she wants to be the first Filipino winner of Canada's Drag Race, and her strategy is apparently to kill the other girls. Which, okay, go for that, Star. I didn't know Suki was raising a little murderer there, but you go, you Star, you do you. But I will say I love the look, and it's definitely like giving Asian geishas if they were part of the circus kind of thing. And no doubt Star likely will bring it on the runway. I'm a little worried for our favorite seamstress's daughter, just because, much like Suki, I'm not really getting an emphasis on like the acting, performance, comedy part of it. And I could see her doing well in like a lip sync for sure, but I wonder if she's really going to have like the nuance or the experience or the the consistency to go far because I think she's definitely going to bring the fun. What did you think about Starjaw? And more importantly, Jack, what do you think she's going to bring to the table? And are you going to eat it?
Star has a lot of personality, like you said. She could be a bit more polished, but she looks good. First thing I have to say to her though is Mabuhay! Filipino queen. Can't wait to see how she does. Clearly, she is going to bring us some drama. She's probably not going to win, but I think she's going to be so funny. I think she's going to be so lovable. I see a lot of good things for her. I don't think it's a coincidence that she made it on the season right after Suki was on Slation Royale. I think that is. I'm not saying that she was given the spot, but I'm just saying there was probably a higher chance of her making it on the season as opposed to a lot of the other girls, right? I like her outfit actually. It really gave me something to work with as far as who she is and what her drag aesthetic is. So I ranked it pretty high actually. I was very like, okay, I'm having fun. This is exciting me. I can't wait to see like what else we're gonna get from her. It isn't like the most put together, but it's not so much about being the most put together as it is about serving something that really shows who you are as a person. And I got a lot from her with this look. I understood. I could see how it was circus. I could see how this relates. I'm excited to see her culture. I talk so highly about uh, the Filipino Drag Race franchise. So I really am excited to see what Stardoll does on this season. I hope she has a long time on here. Maybe she's like our Michaela of last season, where she makes it pretty far. So hoping the best for her. I really enjoyed her.
Mhm. Well, our second to last queen is another one of those girlies that's selling some golden beaver shenanigans, and that's Van Goth, also 27 years old from Toronto, and described their style as a cross between a burlesque artist and a rock star. They've been sewing for 11 years, so expect them to make their own garments as well. But she's a self described bitch. You either love her or hate her, but either way, you want to talk about her because she's the face of drama. And she considers herself like a truth telling mirror, and her strategy is to play the game cutthroat, and she wants to represent all the rotted ass bitches out there. So I kind of love this destructive energy that Van was giving, and there's something behind her words that I do genuinely think she could be a girl who does something crazy we don't see coming. At least I see a lot more than Maya with her being a problem starter, between the two. So I just hope that she's more bite than bark. That's all I'll say on that portion of it. And I don't hate her look either. It's actually in my top half, but I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about her aesthetic overall because it's not necessarily an aesthetic that I generally vibe with 100%, but I feel very open to what Van is going to be bringing this season for whatever reason. I don't know why. I really liked her energy. But Jack, what do you think of Van Gogh's chances of not only just being the drama this season, but also doing well this season?
I'm not really sure. Van Gogh is a little bit burlesque, a little bit mess. It was really giving me Violet Chachki, Goth, or like um, it's probably like more like Violet Chachki mixed with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. And I think when I get that kind of feeling, I'm just not so certain because the Violet Chachki attitude is there, where she like thinks she's that bitch, she can't be eaten up. And my issue is if this is her idea of a circus look, I'm kind of confused because she says she's the fashion girl, and I wasn't really getting that much fashion. I said, okay, you have a Harlequin pattern. I was like, it's just a very kind of simple dress. It looks very nice. It's well put together. She's clearly showing off all of her tattoos and her body that she loves. And I'm all for body positivity. And I like that she tells us straight up she's a bitch. Some people like her, some people don't. I like that energy, but I also think there's a little too much. I think it went from confidence to arrogance. Um, I need her to be able to also do something other than just the straight up white face. To me, I struggle with that when a girl just like goes a straight like color like one like for example all white and then like paints on the face on top of that. I'm just not. mm, I wonder what the makeup would look like if she went for a more natural look or if she went for more of a traditional like pageant style. Can she do it? I don't know. I would assume so, but I would love to see her like that. I hope she has more to show, but I don't see her winning. I don't see her winning. I think she set herself a high bar to come up to though with how much trash she was talking.
mean, imagine if she actually comes through though. That was my thing, is she was
Good.
talking a lot. So for some reason I'm like, I don't feel like you're gonna talk that much. It's like Terrace, right? Like Terrace has been kind of coming through a little bit, right? So I'm like, I just don't feel like you're gonna talk that much near Meet the Queens if you don't put up. I just don't get it. I just don't believe it. But jury's out. We'll see. We'll see in November what's going on here. But before we get to our predictions here, Jack, and close out the video, we still have one final queen to discuss here, and they made sure to save one of the more monumental moments revealed into the very end on this cast. So let's say bonjour hi to Velma Jones, 39 years old from Montreal, and she's making Canada history as she's not only our first cis woman drag queen to compete, but it's also our first drag king to compete as well under her alter ego Johnny. She's based on all or bleh. She based on the fact that she's breaking all new ground here, Velma believes that she's likely going to be an underdog, but she's prepared to conquer the adversity with her comedy skills and splits. She wants to show no matter your gender that drag is a form of art that's for everybody, and once again another beautiful message and powerful statement that I'm proud that Canada is making sure that Velma is included here. And I feel like based off of that, I'm kind of going to be willing or going to be ready to be pulling for her to win. But let's talk objectively subjective here because, we've seen all of her competition at this point. So putting that to perspective, how does Velma stack up with her promo and what are her chances of taking the crown, Jack?
I think she has a good chance. I wouldn't call her an underdog. I think that is maybe a perception she has faced as a cis woman in the drag world. Um, that being said, I don't see any reason for her to be considered an underdog. Maybe her competitors might look down upon her at times, but I don't see anything wrong from her drag aesthetic to the point where I was like, "Oh no, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to do it." Like, the shoes are nice, the outfit's very fun. It tells somewhat of a story. I'm not really sure if I got circus per se from it all, but I was interested to know more. I really enjoyed her personality. It's like bubbly, but it's also a lot. I think she'll go far. I hope we get to see a lot more of her in the competition, and I hope she's not just like a placeholder or a kind of like, uh, kind of just like a more than just like a she's the first. Like I hope Velma gets the chance to really show who she is, what her drag is like, and her artistry. I'll be interested to see how it is, how her alter ego Johnny comes into play, especially on the runway, and whether or not it helps or hinders her in the judges of the or in the eyes of the judges. Sorry, but I only see good things for her. I really do. I think she's gonna. I don't think she needs to think that she's an underdog. I think that she needs to believe 1000% she can get that crown, and she will be getting the crown. And I see she could. I do think she could.
Absolutely. I think I have her in my top half. And I think at this point, there's a lot of good competitors here on this cast. And I mean, we just went through 12 of them at this point, and everybody I think has something that could possibly stand out. Obviously, those that probably have better chances than others. So, Jack, as always, we'd like to pick out a top four. We like to try to predict, pretend like we could actually figure things out before they actually happen. And again, a lot of good choices this season, but now is the time to officially lock it in. Who is your official top four prediction for Canada's Drag Race Season 6?
I think the obvious people that are automatically in the top four for me are Hazel and Velma Jones. Now, also one other person I did mention I was definitely going to put in my top four, Karamilk. I'm not sure how everyone else feels about her. I love her so far from what I've seen. So that's three of my members. I think they're the more conventional picks. But my fourth member is the girl I'm rooting for, and you didn't think I would, is Sami Landri. I want her to do well. I could see her going all the way. I truly think that there's something there that I saw in that interview from her. I was like, I want to see more. There might be a little bit of a shine and something like a diamond in the rough almost there. Um, Maybe she seems like a star to me. She had a star on her outfit. We'll see.
Oop, oop. I mean, I don't think we're that far off for the most part, but I think for the same reasons you like Karamilk are the reasons why I like Eboni La'Belle. So she was my first official lock-in pick, like easily. Um, I do see some common storyline beats coming from, the social media girls and whatnot. So I do get the feeling that a lot of those girls are probably going to go far here, more namely like Hazel, possibly Saltina, Sammy. But I'm going to lock in two of them just because they're the two that give the best overall vibes here, and that's Hazel and Sammy as well too. So I agree with you with so far 2 out of 3 of them. Final spot, I was going back and forth here, really, on my last spot, just because, like, I'm stuck between good and evil here, really, honestly. Just
Ooh.
because part of me wants to believe we live in, like, a good and moral world where, like, someone who considers themselves an underdog in this competition, like Velma, is going to triumph, right? Whereas on the other end, I know the truth about this world. It's evil, it's corrupt, we're not allowed to have nice things. But I do think if one person lives up to what they say and this chaos happens, right? Then one person could possibly thrive in this chaos and live up to her chaotic words of mass beaver destruction. So I'm gonna give my last spot to Van Gogh. So yeah, I think that's my top four there. With I would put an asterisk next to Velma. She would be my alternate officially, I think at this point. But I
You
do
know,
agree with your list. They're both. There's possibilities anywhere. Honestly, this is a really good group.
I would say I probably would say that these are like would be the top six I kind of see of all the queens here. Like if I had to guess now, that's what my thought would be. But when it comes to Van Gogh, I don't think it's that she's necessarily evil or like terrible, maybe chaotic, right? And maybe bitchy, but I don't know. She has a lot to prove for herself. And as far as Velma goes, I think there's something maybe it's just the fact that her name is Velma Jones, so it's Scooby Doo based for me because Velma and Fred Jones. So, look, I'm excited to see what comes about this. I think that there's a lot up in the air depending on what kind of challenges, what the judges are really looking for this season. It's not always the most consistent judging in Drag Race, but Canada seems to do generally a pretty good job of being as consistent as possible. I think when compared to a lot
I'm
of the other franchises.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well too, and it's possible we hopefully will get a fair winner. I still think last season was fair, but maybe just not necessarily like the most vibrant winner. But I really think
Well,
at this point there's like so many people from this cast that could just have such a shining personality. I don't think that'll be an issue this season. I don't think
I
that'll be an issue at all.
And I don't think last season was necessarily it was the issue was so much the winner as much as it was who the top two were because it felt like it was a bit of a snub to some of the other girls. So I'm hopeful that we don't get anything like that happening where we kind of have like a bit of a icky taste in our mouth because of some girls not getting the opportunity to lip sync for the crown. But I think this cast has a lot of potential.
And it is a season 6. Known for being a good number across every single franchise, actually. Most 6 seasons are like top tier. So, you know, kind of shocking though, Jack, because we're doing things like for once a whole ass month early. and we have that much time to wait to figure out if we're right because Canada's Drag Race season 6 doesn't begin until November 20th. But that doesn't mean there isn't more content for y'all to check out until then because Spawning 5 is still going. And UK 7, I guess, is there too. So, but until then, hopefully you're just as excited as we are to get things started because, as always, we can't wait to see how this turns out. Thank you again so much for listening. Please drop a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more commentary on future seasons, and leave a comment below on your predicted top four. Again, your predicted top four, not the top four that you saw on a spoiler video somewhere, please. Thank you. But until next time, and on behalf of my co-caster, QuackrrJack, this is Renegade signing out. But remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye!
Bye.